As the evil Lord Drakon set out to conquer his world and others, he knew the powers of the Dragon Coin and the Tiger Coin would not be enough to hold the vast territories he would be conquering. He would need people for that, bodies to fill a limitless army, but it would simply not be enough to have soldiers. He needed soldiers powered with the essence of the Dino Power Coins, clad in mass-produced armor and wielding wicked assault rifles and walkie-talkies. This force came in the form imitating the fallen Black Ranger, and wielding the mighty dragon cannons capable of stealing the powers away from other Rangers. They are his army. They are the Mastodon Sentries. And today on Crotoni Entertainment, we'll be painting ours up for Power Rangers Here the Grid using the following paints. Citadel Apothecary White, Army Painter Matte White, Citadel Black Templar, Citadel Ironbreaker, Citadel Flashkits Yellow, Citadel Shade Nuln Oil, Citadel Abaddon Black, and P3 line Necrotite Green. I'm Chris, and I'll be joined tonight by Bree as we paint the Mastodon Troopers from Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid. As Bree sits down to join us, hello Bree.
Hi!
We primed our Mastodon Sentries with our 2X Krylon Matte Perfect Gray Spray, and that's going to let us jump right into painting with the Citadel Apothecary White. So this is going to cover all the white areas on the Mastodon Trooper, which are going to be the boots, and they're going to be the vest and the belt. And that's actually basically it.
I mean, yeah, he is kind of just very close to monochromatic.
Yeah, so we're using a medium grain brush here. Don't want to use anything super fine point. And we're being kind of sloppy. We're just kind of slapping it on.
Because everything else is black. So if you make a boo-boo McError, you can just cover it up with the black.
Exactly. So when the other black goes on, it's going to just cover up anything that's sloppy and kind of overboard. So we're just making sure this goes on all the belts, making sure this goes on the vest, and we're rocking and rolling. You know, I've been avoiding painting this model. I don't know, for some reason I thought it was going to be harder than it was.
Well, because it's two colors. It's black, it's white. And there's a teeny tiny bit of yellow.
I felt more intimidated by it. I thought I was going to do it more difficulty too, with more difficulty too, I should say.
Ooh, apparently that word was more difficulty.
Words are difficult. So anyway, we finished the Apothecary White. We're gonna walk away. We're gonna let it dry, and we're gonna come back to it. And this time we're gonna put our Army Painter Matte White. And we're going to dry brush. You see, I picked this nice thick brush here, and I dip it in the paint, and I wipe most of the paint off. So that's me dipping it in the paint. Now I'm going to wipe it off on my paper towel or on my my palette, and I'm going to have almost no paint left.
Just don't lie.
No, this was on my paper towel. I only do it on my painting desk, not my painting video table. But anyway, we're just going to dry brush this on. And again, we're being sloppy here too. We're just kind of rubbing the brush along the boots and rubbing the brush along the vest. I thought about doing this the more difficult traditional highlight way, where I take a fine tip brush and I really pick everything out. I didn't want to.
There are a lot of them.
There's 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too many.
That's too many to do all that kind of work.
Well, I think these are 54 millimeter scale. They're definitely bigger than 28, but I think they're 54s. But a dry brush works perfectly well when the camera focuses on it properly.
Ooh,
so you see,
there's your thumb.
We kind of put, like my thumb has got the white on it from the dry brush. So do my other fingers. So because what's going to happen on the dry brush if you don't use it that often is it's going to pick up kind of just the raised areas and really, really make it pop. And guess what? We're done with the white. That's it. That's it. We're
that's
done.
it. That's all we're doing. Okay, well then.
So now we're going to go in and we're going to go ahead and take care of, a little out of order, we're going to take care of the top of the base.
So that way you're kind of doing what exactly?
Well, in this case, I'm avoiding rubbing off the contrast paint.
That's legit.
Because one of the things, and I think I've said this before, I think it's before you joined us, but one of the things I've noticed about contrast paints is they can rub off of miniatures. They're more like a stain than a paint.
Yeah.
So they can actually rub off. I seal all my miniatures with Krylon Rust-Oleum 2X Matte Clear Spray, and I haven't had any rub-off issues since I started doing that. But because to paint the rim of the base, we're going to be handling the model, I wanted to paint as much of the base as I could now.
That makes sense.
Without having to deal with it.
I just, point of order though, maybe come up with a different phrase that's not going to get us flagged.
No, I'm going to stick with rimming. So anyway, we're going to let that dry. Once that's dry, we're going to come back and we're going to go on to the next step. Now, if you have it, you could go ahead and slap your mini on a miniature holding handle or even a cork with some blue tack on it. I don't do that on this channel. I do that with some of my other minis. I don't do that on any minis I paint for this channel because, again, we're going for this everyman painting approach. You shouldn't have to have a million fancy tools to paint these models.
Right.
So we're going to go on to our Citadel Black Templar contrast paint. And we're just going to paint it on fairly thick using a relatively fine detail brush. You can see how much is on the brush every time I come back in. There's like that big glob of liquid on there.
Yeah.
We're just going to now kind of apply it like a paint. So we're not going to treat it like a wash. We're not going to treat it like a shade of any kind. We're just going to just paint this black on.
Just cover it, all the stuff.
Just cover it up. And it looks terrible right now. It looks like black tar going on the miniature. It's not going to look like that in a little bit.
No.
These guys are going to look better than Lord Draco.
I mean, it's Tommy, so I guess anything looks better than Tommy.
You knew where I was. Actually, I'll say this. There will not be a Lord Dracon painting video on the show.
Because you already painted him.
I painted him before I decided to make videos.
Yeah.
So he's done. Actually, the Mighty Morphin team is done. I think I said that in a previous video.
Yeah.
So anyway, while we're doing this step here, which is going to take a while because we're going to hit all the black areas on here. So we're going to be hitting the arms, the shoulders, the head. I went ahead and did most of the neck region. I know actually the core part of the neck is actually white on the Mastodon Trooper. There's black under the vest, and then there's an area of white. But the way he's got his head tucked in and his shoulders raised, I didn't bother with that.
Yeah, it's not because you would only get like teeny tiny little bit, and that's really because it's not like you're building this guy. He's already pre-molded, so it's not like you can like put the gun on later, so you can get all that fine chest detail, so you can get the true to thing. This one's all one mold, so.
So anyway, while I'm doing this, you may notice I'm also doing it in blocking. So I'm kind of hitting, in this case, just the wrist and the hand.
Yeah.
Previously, I was hitting the upper arm and the shoulder, and now I'm going to kind of work in small blocking stages. And the reason I do that is if you get some of this black that's overly dry, you could see some of your transition lines. So if I were to have kind of the halfway point or kind of the brushstroke end halfway up the wrist, and then it dried, and then I did the other half of the wrist, you might see a difference in shade, and I'm trying to avoid that. Is it strictly necessary? No. At tabletop level, you probably won't even notice it, but it's something to keep in mind.
If you are like a little bit of a perfectionist, like Chris is,
if you're a perfectionist, don't follow my tutorials. They're basic.
But Chris will hyper focus on those, and he will never want to use that model again because he sees it. So if you're like him, try this. If you're a normal person, just paint the thing.
So now the other thing that I did here, this is actually the second Mastodon Trooper that I painted. The first one I did a test mini. I was pretty happy with the test mini overall, with a couple of exceptions, and one of them was the gun. I tried on the first one to paint the gun a bright silver and then do the black over it, thinking that, the way the contrast lies, I'd get a little color pop from underneath.
Yeah.
What I ended up getting was just the black rubbing off of the highest areas way easier. So I didn't do that on this mini.
Yeah.
I just did away with it.
And you changed the belt.
I did. I changed. We'll get to that. Because we'll talk about that when we get there. But while we're kind of painting this area that's still got a little bit to go, you know how we like to talk about multiple topics in a night, and one of them is usually how much Tommy Oliver sucks.
There's that.
But I want to talk about sleeves. Card sleeves.
Cards, okay. I was like, have you developed a dislike of sleeves?
Yes.
They keep my arms warm. I am appreciative of them.
Well, that's a whole other conversation. That's card sleeves.
Okay.
I think you should absolutely sleeve your cards for the game, especially if you play it a lot.
Yes.
The more you play a game, the more you're going to want sleeves. I have some real beefs with...
I don't think that's how you use that word.
That's exactly how I use that word. It really grinds my gears.
Okay, that one.
It also grinds my gears when you can't find the droid you're looking for. No, I have some issue with what I call sleeve elitism.
You can only use these types because these are the only ones that are really good. And if you don't use these types, are you even sleeving, bro?
Correct. Now, I don't necessarily want to call anybody out specifically because I'm not trying to target any person. A lot of this is taught through gaming stores and taught through other games. The general preference is if you're not using Dragon Shield, you're doing something wrong. Dragon Shield makes a phenomenal sleeve.
They're wonderful, I ain't got that kind of money all the time.
Well, we used Dragon Shield for all of our Warhammer Underworlds cards.
Yes, we did.
And we had multiple of those sets before we gave up on Warhammer Underworlds. We had like 1,000 cards, or I don't know, I made up that number, but it was a lot of cards.
You got a lot. We had it a lot.
Yeah. We sleeved them all in Dragon Shield. They're very, very secure.
And they're super durable, and they stand up to almost anything. Having, once again, little ones in the house, we know that Dragon Shield absolutely will protect them from your average toddler.
And anybody who's playing any sort of collectible card game, your Pokemons and your Yugamons and your Magicmons.
Yes,
all of those. I just lost everybody who plays a card game. all of those, people sleeve them predominantly with Dragon Shield from what I see. you don't need them on this game. I think we're using Ultra Pro. I don't know what brand we're using.
Oh, I don't know if we're even. Is it a brand? I mean,
it is. It's got a brand. I feel like I figured you'd think I would have prepared for this. I did not. I did not.
It isn't just a rant that hit your head.
I ordered them off Amazon, and I want to say they're actually Ultra Pro, which is another good brand.
Where'd the model go?
I don't know.
Where'd the model go?
It's going to come back in. I'll figure it out at some point. When I'm painting on here, guys, to behind the veil, I have the camera nearby with the screen blown up, and every once in a while I look over and I go, "Ah, crap! I'm doing this terribly. It's this terrible video."
I want this known. Chris almost went to school to do this for a living.
Almost. I changed my mind. I went in a different direction with it.
But
I did not specifically to paint miniatures for a camera. There it goes. It's gone again. I'm bringing it back in. Look at that. It's drying nicely, isn't it?
It is. I like. See, you can see.
Anyway, sleeves. We're talking sleeves.
Yeah, sleeves.
The other thing that really grinds my gears, and this is purely personal, and this might just be the way we play. I regularly see people asking for advice on what sleeves to put up, and I just want to put my 2 cents into it. Dragon Shield doesn't sponsor us, so I can say that I'm not interested in using Dragon Shield in these games. It's bang for your buck is not worth it. You can get 100 sleeves for like $10 or $12 or whatever it is on Dragon Shield, whereas I can get the same amount of Ultra Pros for like $6.
Yeah.
And they work just as well.
They do.
Especially for this game.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm playing a game of Magic where I'm shuffling my deck 400 times in a night, maybe they won't hold up as well. But for this game, you can base it off of cost. You can base it off of cost. And the other thing, and what I really want to get at is color.
Yeah, because if you've got a back on, like any of the backing on your cards, you can't do that with this game.
Well, we did it. We did it ourselves.
We did. We started off doing it that way.
We started off using colored sleeves to match our Rangers, and we very quickly realized that is not the direction we wanted to go. Because
you actually start to get a read on where your cards are if you're doing dual Ranger mode. And yeah, I remember this discussion where we decided we were going to re-sleeve.
So yeah, maybe that only applies if you're playing a lot of dual Ranger mode, which we actually do. We play dual Ranger mode a lot, so we don't use the colored sleeves. But kind of a pause on this real quick. When we finish up the black here, we're going to move into our next color, which is going to be should be our silver. And I'm going to pull the model right out of the thing here. So it's going to be our silver, and I'm going to do really thin lines of silver across the little mammoth trunk that goes in the front of the helmet. I'm just going to do that to make it pop a little bit from a distance. Just kind of a faux highlight, if you will. Then I'm going to go ahead and put the silver on the mouthpiece, and I'm going to put the silver on the tusks on either side. On the miniature, and I didn't do it in this video, I didn't realize until later, I do put the silver on the eyeballs on the helmet as well, the little eyes. I didn't notice it until after I was done filming this video.
The eyeballs?
Yeah, there's sculpted eyes just above the tusks on the helmet.
Oh, okay.
I didn't do it here, and I apologize for the focus here. Getting in with the fine detail brush, I had to get visually closer, and it's hard to keep the camera focused when I do that. But anyway, we're going to put our silver on, and then we're going to move into our yellow. But the sleeves, I guess all I'm saying is you don't have to use top of the line. It's okay to save a couple dollars, and it's okay to go clear, especially if you do dual Ranger mode. And the nice thing about clear is you never have to worry about running out of a specific color. If you've got backup sleeves, you've got backup sleeves, and life is going to be good.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying.
And actually, if you've got backup sleeves and you happen to go and you pick up another game, you got sleeves for another game.
Exactly. And here's where I realized I was out of frame again. But I got that Flash Kits yellow, and this is only really going on the shoulder and on the gun, and I'm targeting that mammoth on the shoulder. Now, I could do like a darker yellow and this yellow as a highlight, but I actually decided I wasn't going to do that. I decided to go ahead and just leave black underneath, and I'm kind of doing more of a stylized Mastodon here. Because again, there's 12 of these guys, which is not a huge number given some of the games I played with, 30, 40, 50-man units.
The greenskins come to mind.
Well, there's the one time I played a 100-man Goblin unit way back in the day with Warhammer Fantasy. That was fun. But 12 is still more than I want to deal with here, and the stylized look on the shoulder comes out just fine, as I promise you'll get a view of with my wonderful camera work. But that's going to be the yellow, and then we're going to go back as well, and we're going to do the yellow on the gun. And it goes, but we're not going to do it here. I'm going to do it off camera, apparently. But the belts. You had a problem with the belts when I finished. They're supposed to be white. They're supposed to be white pouches.
And I'm all for that. It's just, it was such a lack of contrast between the white of the vest, the white on the boots, that he kind of looked unfinished.
Well, his whole lower torso got lost in itself. It looked like he was just Mastodon Beer Belly, not Mastodon Sentry. So all we're doing here is taking our Citadel Shade Gnome Oil and just effectively painting. We're not even washing. We're painting it over the belt to create some darkening on the belt and the pouches, which you're going to see really kind of makes it pop kind of in the final look. So kind of our last step. And again, there is yellow that goes on the gun, kind of like there is on the power axe as well. But we're going to grab that Necrotite green, and we're just going to rim the base with that. And I picked the Necrotite green here because, and I forget who said it, and I would really love to credit this person, but somebody had said that they paint their foot soldiers' bases green, their monsters' bases orange, and their bosses' bases purple because they match their cards. And I figure I did that for all of the ranger colors. Why wouldn't I do it for the monsters? It looked pretty cool.
It does.
So I'm going to go back and repaint my other bases, this Necrotite green, because it takes no time at all. But I'm going to repaint those, and I'm going to let that dry. And we're basically going to complete a Mastodon Trooper that we're going to do a 360 of here momentarily. So you see I went back and I did the yellow around the nozzle of the gun there. It really does help it pop. You can see how the pouches pop and everything. You can see how the white really comes out. You see this is a very basic, simple, easy paint job.
Mm-hmm.
So all that said, that's going to wrap up another episode of Morphin Monday. I thank you all for watching. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for notifications. Drop a comment, and we'll see you next week on Morphin Monday.
Have a good week.